Okay, so good morning. It is January 25th, 2020. Welcome everybody who is on the workshop with me here this morning. My name is Michael Bridgman, and this is the Hit Your Target workshop. So this workshop is all about goal setting. And I know that might not seem the most sexiest topic in the world, but one of the biggest success habits on the planet is setting effective, great goals for yourself so that you've not only got a real destination in mind for where you want to be with what you're doing in your life, but also you've got a roadmap and you've got some objectives to hit on your way to reaching that goal, right? So, and when I've been working with clients, when I'm working with my friends or coaching anybody individually, one of the things that I run into over and over and over again is people setting really awesome goals, but they set them wrong. They fall into these four common traps. And what we're going to cover today is what those four common traps are, because I'm telling you right now, everybody, most likely you've fallen into these traps. And so we're going to cover what those four traps are, and then ultimately how you can avoid those traps by setting more effective goals. So I've got a group with me today, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so we can all see each other. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the workshop. It's great to see you here. And in a second, what we're going to do is because it's a nice intimate group today, I'd really love if we could just give a brief introduction as to who everybody is here that's on this workshop today. So just because we're all going to be listening to each other, and the opportunity to give each other feedback over the course of today is fantastic. So we'll be together for just in around an hour and a bit from this point forward. And yeah, so in your introduction, why don't you just tell us who you are, where you're from, and one of the things that I like to do is practice a strategy that a concept that I learned from Oprah Winfrey. So whenever she was doing sort of formal workshops or formal meetings with her team, she would always say, okay, what's your intention, right? So what's your intention behind this? So ultimately, what we're going to do is share who you are, where you're from, and then really quick, just what your intention is with being on the workshop today. So something sparked you to want to be here. So just let's share what it is that forced or that gave you that intention to be here today. So why don't we start with Judy? Judy, your microphone's open.
I just knew you were going to pick me first.
So Judy, share who you are, where you're from, and then what your intention is for today.
Sure. So my name's Judy Shearing, as you can see on the screen, and I live in Ladner in Delta, of course. And my intention is I have some major plans for this year, and quite often I set goals and then forget about them or don't work on them or whatever. So I need a kickstart.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Good. Welcome to the workshop, Judy. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Danny, how about yourself, my man?
I'm from Texas, way away from you guys. And my intention for this meeting today was to possibly pick up some new information that I don't have with other meetings I've been to.
Fabulous. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Danny. And Pamela, how about yourself? Pamela, are you there?
She's muted.
Well, yes, I am. So happy 2020, everybody. And
Yeah.
I'm just getting over a cold, so forgive my voice.
No problem.
I've recently retired, and I call it escaping from school. As I've been there since I was 4 years old with school-related things, so time to do something else. And of course, when you're working, you've got all kinds of structures in place. Most of that's gone now, and I feel like, okay, I'd like to be able to accomplish more. And I feel like I'm really busy, but I don't know what I'm accomplishing.
Okay.
So personal as well as some entrepreneurial goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, Danny, I'll be going down to Texas on Tuesday for a conference.
Hey.
I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Austin.
Okay, cool. Irene.
My name is Irene Lee Haven, and I am from Port Coquitlam. My intention for being here is to help me hit help me create a strategy to hit some of the goals I have. I also have some personal goals this year, and I have some decisions to make about some other more business related goals, and just help with that. So I'm excited to be here, Michael.
Awesome. Perfect. Love it. Okay, cool, guys. See, and it's always nice to have a little bit of clarity, right? Just even at the beginning of these things as to what we're looking for. So as I said, what we're going to be covering today is we're going to dive into these 4 common goal setting traps. Now, these are things that probably every single one of us have fallen into all 4 at some point, or we routinely fall into one of them or 2 of them all the time. So we're going to break these down, okay? We are going to completely disassemble these traps and why they're really holding you back. And hopefully over the course of today, then my intention for you, because I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning. And my intention is to make sure that when you leave this workshop, you leave feeling empowered. You leave feeling courageous to go out and tackle these things. And you feel like, you know what? I know what these traps are. So now when I'm setting goals or when I'm hearing the goals of the people around me, I can help them. I can help myself make sure that we don't fall into these patterns and these habits that are keeping us trapped and keeping us locked in. So just by a show of thumbs up on the screen, does that make sense to everybody? Are we all good with that? Okay, perfect. So for those of you who don't really know who I am, I mean, most people on this Zoom do, but just a quick reference guide. My name is Michael Bridgman, and I've been a bit of a serial entrepreneur. I've been a business guy for, almost 14 years now. Different types of endeavors in the restaurant industry and retail, customer service, doing nonprofit stuff. And ultimately, when you go into business for yourself, when you start to take control of your own destiny financially that way, you are going to run into all sorts of risks, I think, and all sorts of peril, right? We can all understand that. There's some traps and pitfalls in just becoming an entrepreneur. So I've been able to cut my teeth on that. And over the course of the last 14 years, really kind of carve out a lifestyle freedom for myself where, in the end, I'm co-owner of several different companies. They do millions of dollars in revenue per year. And ultimately, I have a lot of free time in my life to do things like share with you guys because I've made that a major goal and a major priority. So if having that time freedom in your life and having some space to just be with the people that you love and do the things that you love to do and really make enough money so that you're not worried about those things in your life, like money is no longer a big issue. If that's what you're after, then you're in the exact right place because that's what I've been able to carve out, and I want to share that experience with you. I really want to make sure that what I've been able to learn, and in my 40 years on this planet, which isn't a ton of time, but it's enough to hand over some wisdom that I found from you guys. And in the end, how I learned was because I sat in workshops just like this one. And I was there, and didn't matter who it was. If they had something great that they were willing to share, I was willing to listen, because you just need one thing, right? By a show of hands, who would agree with me that you just need one fabulous little thing from a workshop like this that can totally pivot things for you and change your life? Does everybody agree with me on that one?
Yep.
Right? You just need one. Because I love the story of you guys hear the story about the farmer and the tractor, right? That every day the farmer gets up, gets in his tractor, and he starts to head out of the barn, right? Cranks the wheel to the right, and off into the field he goes. Big, huge field, does this every single day. And what happens is over the course of days and weeks and months of doing this, he carves a pretty significant rut into the mud and the dirt into his field where that tractor is going. And in the end, he doesn't even need to touch the wheel anymore as he leaves the barn. Just starts up the tractor, off the tractor goes, and it pulls out, right? And I think a lot of us get into that type of routine. So you get into this habitual pattern of behavior, and your hands aren't even on the wheel right now, right? Sometimes you're just going in the motions. Everybody had that experience where you're on your way driving somewhere that's not work, and yet you realize it's kind of a similar route, and you realize you've actually driven yourself to work, or you've almost driven not where you wanted to go, right? Anybody ever had that experience before? Yep. I've totally had that experience. I'm like, off here. Oh, I didn't want to get off the highway here. But you're just in those patterns, right? So what happens is if we can get one great element out of a workshop like this, you can adjust that by just a degree. Like just a little bit. And I think we would agree that if you adjust anything by just a fraction, just a little bit, as you start into that pattern, right? So the tractor's going out. If you adjust the wheel of that tractor just by this much, from here to here, is that tractor going to wind up somewhere completely different in that field?
Yep.
Absolutely, right? Adjust it by 1 degree, it could wind up, a mile from where that farmer originally would be driving his tractor. So, good morning, Suzanne. The whole point I'm getting at here, everyone, is that in a workshop like this, look for the one thing. I found a lot of people, they attempt to grab everything in workshops like this, and that's great to write lots of notes. But in the end, we're going to pick 1 or 2 fabulous things that you can pull out of a workshop like this that can really make an adjustment, right? So if everyone's on board with me with that, I would absolutely love that. So that's who I am, you guys. As I said, I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm an author. I've written a great book called Unlock, and I now do workshops like this. I'm a business coach, and I own a couple different companies, and it's a super exciting life. But my most proudest thing, everybody, is that I'm one of these. You can see it. There we go. Right? Hashtag dad life. My son, he's 2 years old, and he is the gem of my life. So that's my proudest thing. That's the best thing, is that I love being a dad. That's my favorite part of my day. And with the way I've set my life up currently right now, I get to spend a ton of time just hanging out, being a dad. So super fun. So is everybody ready to get started then?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. One of the ways that I want to get rolling here, everybody, is to let you know that we are doing this in very much an interactive way, as I said. And how that's going to look is I'm actually going to pull up a screen here. Everybody should be able to see my whiteboard screen, yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what's cool about this particular workshop, everyone, is that because we're doing this, right, via, as I said, like totally interactive, right, I'm actually going to be able to be here right alongside you, and I'll be able to draw right on this. So we are going to be doing a fair amount of work with the whiteboard, switching back and forth. So as we work through these common traps that people fall into, everyone, the great part is that we're going to be able to really work through this hand in hand. We're going to be able to do this in such a way that if you have questions, we can really map out how to get that stuff tackled, right? So I hope that works for everybody. And without further ado, why don't we get started, right? Why don't we get started? So the first thing that I want everybody to do today is I want you to write down what is one major goal for 2020. Okay, so I want you to write down what one major goal is for 2020 for yourself. So one major goal. As specific as you can be, right? As clear as you want to be in one sentence. What is one major goal you want to accomplish in 2020? Okay, so just by a quick show of thumbs up, has everybody got one? Everybody got their major goal for 2020? Okay, excellent. So let's let's dive into what trap number 1 is. Okay, so trap number 1. This is a biggie. Okay, and the trap number 1 that most of us fall into is that when we set a goal, we actually set a goal that's really unspecific. We set a goal that is actually quite unspecific. So I was at a coaching session just, it was just earlier this week. In fact, it was on Monday. And one of the clients that I was coaching, she was super clear about what she didn't want. She didn't want this, she didn't want that, she didn't want this, and she didn't want that. And in the end, when we were talking with her, one of the things that we fleshed out real quick was that she had no idea what she actually wanted. You guys ever experienced that? You know when you feel intrinsically yourself, or you have a friend or a family member that knows what they don't want, but they actually can't identify what they do want? And I encourage you, test this with somebody that you know and that you love. Say, what is it that you don't like about your job? What is it you don't like about, Japanese food? Whatever it is. And I'll bet they can list off a whole bunch of things that they don't like. But what's interesting is when you say, okay, so what do you love? What would you like? They go, it's a really good question. That's a really good question, right? And the analogy that really helped her break out of this concept was that I said, okay, if you want to travel from Vancouver to, you're in Dallas, Texas, right, Danny? So if you want to travel down to Texas, right, she was really clear on saying that I don't want to walk there, right? I don't want to walk. But she didn't say, but I'd like to take a bicycle, or I'd like to take a motorcycle, or I'd like to take, she's like, I have one rule, I just don't want to walk there. So she knew what she didn't want, but she was super unclear about what she did want. If you're going from Vancouver, where I am right now, to Seattle, or all the way down to Texas, right? And you're like, well, I don't want to walk, but I don't know how else I want to get there. Is that a clear goal?
No.
Is that a clear objective? Of course not. But we say this all the time. We say things like, I want to make more money this year, right? We say stuff like this all the time. I want to make more money. I want to lose weight, right? I want to get in shape. And we think these are good goals. We think these are effective goals. But what it turns out is that these are actually really vague, super unspecific, completely unclear goals, right? They say things, and ultimately they say things like, I want more fun or family time, right? And what happens is with a goal like this, everybody, that you can't line up your energy properly to hit a specific target. You can't invite into your life what you want or this particular objective if in the end your goal is so unspecific that the universe can't line up to give you what you need to get that goal done, because what you're asking for is unclear, right? Just by show of thumbs up. Does this make sense to everybody so far, right? Getting that type of clarity in your goal setting is crucial to you finding success with it. I mean, it's mandatory. So what I want to do right now is, if you're looking at this, right, if you're going, okay, how do I take this goal? So look at that goal that you've written down. Look at that goal you've written down right now. Take a look at that goal. Is it clear enough? If you were to state that goal to somebody else, would they go, I know exactly what you want, right? This woman that I was talking to about the coaching thing, she wanted to find businesses that she could purchase. So she was looking for businesses that she could purchase. And she had this laundry list of stuff that she didn't want. I don't want a business that's like this. I don't want a business that's like this. I don't want a business that's like this. I don't want a business that's like that. And then in the end, myself and the other business coach, we were going, okay, that's fine, but we don't know what you do want. You've listed off 4 traits that you don't want in a business, but that leaves approximately 2 billion other businesses that you may want. So we need some more clarity, or else we can't encourage you or connect you with the right people. So when you're looking at your goal right now, is it clear enough? If Irene told Danny her goal, you know exactly what she wants. If Pamela told Suzanne her goal, would Suzanne know exactly what Pamela wanted? Like to the T, like it's super specific. You can clearly identify it in your head. So if you're looking at your goal right now and you don't feel it's clear enough, right? That's one of the biggest misconceptions that we have, is that a vague objective will keep us motivated and keep us going. It's not going to happen, right? And we have some good ones. Make more money, more free time, lose some weight, get in better shape, right? Have more time with my family, go on a vacation. These are these vague goals that we state, and yet there's no clarity on what that actually means. So take a minute now, all right? Take a minute now, look at the goal that you've written, ask yourself, is it clear enough? And then clarify it if it's not. And just so we're clear, I'm going to pick a random person here, and I'm going to ask them what that goal is. And as a group, we're going to see if it's clear enough or not. Okay. Let's take a look here. Do I have any volunteers who'd love to share, or shall I select somebody?
I'll jump out there.
You'll share, Danny?
Yeah, I'll jump out there.
Okay. All right, buddy. So what's the goal?
Well, my main thing, and I think majority of people are in this book too, is procrastinating. You know, no matter what it is that you're doing, you procrastinate too much.
Okay.
And I don't really, like I say, I've got several things that I'm doing, so I can't pinpoint a particular procrastination because it involves all of them.
Okay. So what's the goal, though?
Stop procrastinating.
Stop procrastinating.
Right.
Okay. So the goal, everyone, is to stop procrastinating. So can we see how the challenge for Danny is going to be, what does that actually mean? So in the end, Danny, a goal of stopping to do something, what we
Yes.
have to do with a goal like that is you have to replace that habit with something else, right? You will
Right.
continue to struggle with procrastinating because what happens is we want to do something, and procrastination often has its roots in confusion or fear. We're confused about how to do something, or we're scared about attempting it and not succeeding. Those are normally the two things that procrastination wedges in on, right? So, pardon me. So when the goal is to get rid of procrastination, you have to fill that void, fill that space and that energy in your life with something different. So let me ask you a question here, Danny. What would be, if you stop procrastinating is the ultimate goal here, right? That's
Right.
not really the goal. What you want to do is what's the procrastination stopping you from doing? Because that's your real goal.
Well, I've got a business that I'm doing,
Okay?
and it can be done full time, part time, whatever. You know, it's
Yep.
your own schedule. But I'll think of things to do for that business, but I get sidetracked pretty easy.
Okay. So what would be, if we were to look right now and we would just say, okay, in the next 3 months, I want to accomplish this in this business, what
Right.
would be the goal? Because as I said, stopping to procrastinate is a habit. It's not really a goal, Danny.
Well, increase the members in the business that I'm doing.
Okay, so
Be a
increase
good thing.
members. Cool.
To me, if I increase the members, I'll get the income to come behind that.
Okay, awesome. And so if increase the members is the goal, right?
Right.
Now we can go, we can see how we're working this, everybody. Now we can take his goal and now we can clarify. So in the next 3 months, Danny, what does increased members mean to you? How many members is that?
10 would be good for me.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be a good start, for a 3-month period.
There we go. So now Danny has a specific goal. You see how we work that backwards, Danny?
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said now you have a specific goal, right? See how we work
Right.
that backwards? Stopping procrastinating, that's just a habit you need to break. But in order to break the habit, you need to have a goal that's going to drive you out of the habit.
Okay.
So this is a goal. Does this make sense, everybody?
Right.
Right? So if Danny says in the next 3 months, I want to add 10 members to my business, now he has an objective. Does that help, Danny?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, excellent. Quickly here, everybody, because this is a whiteboard style workshop here, everyone. Is there any questions about that?
So you don't have to have anything in your goal that states how you would get, for example, those 10 members.
Yeah, so
That's
I mean,
not part of the goal?
great question. So when you're setting goals, everybody, one of the first things that we do is we move to a very dangerous question. Okay, we move to the question of, let me grab a nice bright red color here. We move to the question, or to this one. We move to here.
How?
Okay, we
That
don't
means
want to
how
do
to get
that.
the members. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
No?
No. When you're goal setting, Irene, that's what you call planning. Okay, that's strategizing.
Okay.
But in the end, the launch point for a successful year, for example, is just saying what you want, not being so concerned over how you're going to get it yet.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
because by show of hands here, everybody, who feels that when they've declared something into the world, like this, I would love to get this, all sorts of stuff that you couldn't have imagined sort of lines up and helps you get that thing. Like someone shows up and says, hey, I heard you wanted to get that renovation done. You know what? A great carpenter or a great, handyman or whatever, struggling to find the right word, he just finished a job. I think he'd be perfect for this. Let me give you his number. And you were not sure how you were going to get something done. Like that's happened to me a whole bunch of times in my life, right? I just recently happened with a new car that I purchased. I was imagining this new car that I wanted. And, several months later, this guy calls me with the opportunity to buy the car that I was looking for. So don't worry so much about the how, Irene, when you're structuring your goals. The how, and I promise you this, everybody, the how will show up. Either it'll show up as a brilliant idea that lands on you or lands in you, right? Or it will show up as someone else coming up with something that can help you. So yeah, I get it. We want to move to the how. We want to go, how is this going to happen? How am I going to make this happen? So because I've seen companies quadruple their revenue in just a year's time, they had no idea how they were going to do that, right? They just got her done. And here's the other thing with worrying about how. Great question, Irene. How often paralyzes us because we go, I don't have a solution for that, so I'm not going to take a chance. I'm not going to take a step forward. Anybody ever experienced that before?
True.
I did a lot of hiking and mountain climbing as a kid. No matter what you do, when you're on one of those climbing walls, everybody envisioned those climbing walls before, right? And so when you're on one of those climbing walls, the fact of the matter is you're looking up the climbing wall and you might see a bit of a pattern as to what you're going to do. But once you start climbing that wall, right, and you're doing that climb, you have your goal. I want to reach that spot right up there. But once you get partway there, the how of what you're going to need to do to climb, to keep going, is just instinct. You're just doing the next thing that makes sense. But if I had not started the climb because I wasn't sure what I would do with the 8th step, then I would have never gotten to the top. Right?
That makes total sense.
Great question, everybody. Great question. Okay. So let's jump back over here. Okay. Oh, hang on. I got to get my right pen here. Okay, so let's get back over to my screen, and we're going to go to trap number 2. Everybody, trap number 2. So far, so good, everyone? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So hope everybody can see my screen here. So trap number 2, okay? And this one is a doozy because it's really hard on us, okay? Trap number 2 is that we're just flat out unrealistic. We are completely unrealistic. We are unrealistic with ourselves, with what we are capable of, right? We're unrealistic, especially you guys. Here's a big one. We're unrealistic with our timelines. We're super unrealistic sometimes with our timelines. that we go, I can get this done. And we give ourselves a specific timeline that is just flat out almost abusive in how unrealistic it is. I'm going to get this done. And this is probably one of the biggest traps that I fall into, right? I set great goals. I do all sorts of things. I give myself all these great features of goal setting, but I often fall into the trap of unrealistic. I think that I can get more done than possible, right? And the thing that happens is when you set an unrealistic goal and then you don't hit it, or you set an unrealistic goal, you say, okay, I'm going to take, let's just say weight, for example. It's an easy one, right? I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the next 3 months. It's not that the goal isn't possible, but for a lot of us, our lifestyles, what we do with ourselves and everything else, what type of crazy habit change would it require from us to actually accomplish that goal, right? For a lot of us, 5 or 7 or 8 pounds or 10 pounds is a way more realistic goal in 3 months than 20, right? So we set an objective. We go, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 3 months. Internally, though, and tell me, and just by show of hands, have you ever felt this? You set a goal, you look at that goal, and internally there's this little voice that says, you're never going to do that. That's never going to happen. Yes, you wrote it down. Congratulations. But that is not going to happen in that time frame. Everybody experienced that before? Right? And so what happens is that it creates this really dangerous spiral. So let me jump over my screen and show you what I mean. So it creates this really tricky spiral. Everybody see my screen okay? Yep. My whiteboard? Okay. So what happens is it creates this really tricky spiral where you start here and you make yourself a promise, but you realize that promise isn't really true. So you start to spiral this way. And you're like, well, I can't really trust myself. If I can't really trust myself, how am I going to get anything done? If I can't get anything done, why am I doing this at all? If I can't get the goals that I want to reach, why do I keep doing this process anymore? Right? I'm never going to amount to the thing that I want to be. I don't want to do any of this stuff anymore. I'm just stuck. And for those of us who have been pushing the envelope of what we want to do with ourselves in personal growth, in our businesses and what we want, when we make unrealistic goals for ourselves, especially when it comes to timelines or when how many projects we can manage, anything like that, we build this level of mistrust inside our own bodies where you set a goal on some level internally, you don't think you're going to meet that goal anyway, but you set it because that's the exercise. So you go ahead and you do it. And then what happens is this circle, this spiral, as I've put it here. And we call this in the professional development industry, the death spiral to inertia, right? You just stop gaining momentum because you're like, I just don't trust myself anymore. I don't trust my goal setting. This stuff doesn't work, right? Because we wind up setting these unrealistic expectations for ourselves. And here are let me give you where you often find them. So in unrealistic spots, you find them in the time frames that you give yourself to do things and how much you can actually do. Right? So those are things that we run into. This is my biggest problem for me personally, everybody, right? Is that I put a number of plates on sticks and I start to spin a number of them and I expect that I can keep all of those plates spinning. It's just not realistic, right? And when we fall into this trap, we wind up breeding this level of mistrust with ourselves, with us, and the process. So we just stop bothering, right? You just go, yeah, you know what? I'm setting this goal, but I'm really not. I'm not that connected to it. Like it's because I didn't get the ones I wanted to do last year done. So why would I expect that I'm going to get them done this year? And although you might not have that specific conversation with yourself, you're still feeling it, right? If you're struggling to set realistic goals for yourself, you're still feeling it. So let me just give you guys this little quick exercise then. So when you're looking at your goal setting, okay, have you given yourself now a realistic set of expectations for that goal? Is it a realistic goal? So take a look at that goal and see and look at it. Is it realistic? Is it something that you believe deep in your heart that you can actually get done? And go ahead and mark down whether you believe it's realistic or not.
I think the how part of it keeps breaking into that. So then I don't get anywhere with that part.
Right. So as we were talking about before, Pam, if you're running into a how question, right, then you're linking expectation with what you're capable of. And who here agrees with me that this great Einstein quote where he says, the thinking that developed the problems that we have today will not be the thinking that solves them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So in the end, Pamela, like we have to break the mold. It's a bit of a weird conundrum. It's a bit of a chicken and egg thing, right? Because we go, well, how do I break the mold of what is realistic if I don't know how I'm going to get something done? It's, to a certain degree, it's a gut instinct. If you write down a goal and you're like, I have no idea how I'm going to get this done, it's completely unrealistic, then maybe some elements of it are unrealistic. Or is it a goal that you're like, you know what, this could happen, I'm just not sure how it's going to happen yet. And you genuinely feel that way. Which one is it?
The frozen apple.
Sorry, Pam?
Yeah, sorry, that little part that you just said was all kind of frozen.
Oh, sorry. What I was saying was that when we look at a goal and we immediately go to how am I going to do this? There's either there's two things that are happening. Either A, the goal is unrealistic enough that you're like, I have no idea how this could ever happen, so it doesn't feel right. Or it's, okay, the goal is realistic, I'm just not sure how these pieces are all going to fit together yet.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at this goal that you want to achieve, is it that it's unrealistic and this could never actually happen? Like me playing in the NBA. You know, I'm 5'8", 40 years old. If my goal was to play in the NBA right now, that's a completely unrealistic goal. It's just not going to happen, right? I'm not going to be a professional athlete right now. And people go, oh, well, set big dreams. It's just not going to happen. It's not a realistic goal, right? But there are other goals in my life that I'm not sure how they might happen, but I know they could. So which one is it, Pam?
I don't know how, but I know it could.
Okay. So then sometimes don't worry so much about the how right now, right? If you feel the goal you're looking at is realistic, just put a big, huge, this can happen beside your goal and a yes with a check mark or whatever's going to make you feel excited to do it. Right?
Okay.
And then start to just invite that specific goal. Remember, it has to be specific, Pam. Invite that specific goal into your life, and you never know what's going to line up to help you get it done. Okay. And let me break something down really quickly for everybody here, because people talk about, you should set big dreams and big goals and everything like that. And, Michael, why couldn't you play in the NBA? You're 40, you're only 40, right? Yeah, you're 5'8", but Muggsy Bogues was 5'6" or whatever. Like, you could go and do this, set big goals. Here's the thing, everybody. I'm a big believer in setting big dreams and big aspirations. But when it comes to goal setting, these are the steps that you have to get done to get to those big aspirations. And sometimes stuff's just not realistic. You have to be, you have to build it in such a way and look at it in such a way that's actually going to help you get it done. And the goals are the steps along the way to building a big, huge dream. So dream big, absolutely. Dream within the confines of what you know is capable for you in your life. Please do. You want to push the envelope, but not be something ridiculous. But in the end, the goals are the things that are going to drive you and get you there. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay,
Michael?
awesome. Dan, you want to add?
Yeah, can I give you an example that I just thought of that might clear things up for some people?
Yeah.
It's like an individual that's not a true carpenter, but he's kind of like a semi-handyman.
Mm-hmm.
He sets out a project, like he's going to build a cabinet for his home. Does he have all the tools that he needs, like saws, hammers, drills, whatever, to perform that operation? Does he have all the correct woods that he needs for that?
Totally. So yeah, you're right, Danny. It's very similar. We set up for a big project. Do you have all the tools? Do you have all the materials? Do you have the skill yet? Do you have the mentorship that you need to get there? Maybe not. The goal can remain the same, right? You want to build this house, but you're going to need to invite those things into your life, right? If the goal of that carpenter was to, by himself, build 16 log cabins in the next year, that's a completely unrealistic, obscene goal to make. And this is what I'm getting at, where it's just become self-abusive, right? Okay, awesome. Are we ready for trap number 3? So we got 2 so far, unspecific and unrealistic. Are we ready for the third one? Okay, so let me jump over to my screen here, my whiteboard. Okay, so trap number 3, everyone, is that, and this is here comes the big accountability one, okay? This is the one that makes people a little bit more uncomfortable, because here we go. Accountability time. They give themselves, whoop. Hold on, there we go. No time frames. They don't give themselves any clear-cut time frames, right? So, and you hear this all the time, everybody. They say things like, this year is the year that I'm going to get in shape. This year is the year that I'm going to spend more time with my family. Or they might be more specific with their goal. They may say something like, this year is the year that I add an extra $50,000 in income to myself, to my family. The trouble is with any goal like that, you guys, is the time frame is super unclear. Right? The time frame is built in such a way that you've got no idea where your progress points are. You've got no idea how to get this thing done, right? Because there's no clear-cut time frames. And there's a few very key words that people use that dictate, that clearly demonstrate that they don't have an obvious time frame for themselves. So these words, right, when you're setting up these things, these words, they say, someday. I see that all the time, right? I'm asking people their goals, like, oh man, someday I'm going to buy that beautiful home up there. Or man, someday I'm going to buy, a BMW or a Porsche, or someday I'm going to have a workload that lets me only work 4 days a week and spend time with my family more. Someday we're going to go on this beautiful vacation to Disneyland with my kids. Someday, we are driving ourselves batty with the word someday. Because that's not a goal yet, you guys. The trap of that goal is that you have this vision of what you want. It's maybe super specific. It's very clear. You may have given yourself a realistic concept, like I want to go on a vacation with my kids to Disneyland. It's not unrealistic. But without a time frame, right? Without saying this is when I'm going to do it, you have no way of putting energy into where you want to go. Because there's no clear-cut time destination for how to hit your target. So someday is one of the dangerous ones. The other real dangerous one is, of course, someday or sometime, right? And then we often set timeframes too that are way too far out. So let's go over here to Danny's goal, okay? Who here remembers what I gave Danny for a time frame on his goal? Does anyone remember that?
3 months.
Danny, do you remember?
3 months.
3 months, 90 days. Okay. And the reason that I gave Danny a specific time frame within a pretty short window was because the human brain doesn't handle long-term goal setting very effectively. It tends to wander in its focus. Right? So if I said, okay, Danny, why don't you recruit 30 members in the next 12 months? Danny would be like, okay, that's cool. But chances are, if Danny's having a procrastination problem, which he said he was, right? Then what'll happen is Danny just won't do much for the first 3 months. You hear what I'm saying, Danny?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be like,
Gotcha.
oh man, I've got a whole year to recruit 30 people.
There you
A
go.
whole year to add 30 members to my team. I got time. Tons of time. So there's no action. There's no spur to the action. So suddenly, he goes, oh man, I'm 3 months in. You know what? I got to get something done. So then Danny gets on his horse, and for the next 30, 45 days, he's doing really good. Really takes, he gets a couple new members. He's like, oh man, I'm getting some momentum. This is great. Everything. Whew, I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
I got a big window of time here still. I need a break. So Danny takes a bit of a break. He's like, I'm going to take a couple weeks here. Just dial it back a bit. I've been working really hard. Give myself a little thank you, give myself a little gift of time back. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break. And suddenly the momentum ceases, right? But he's like, you know what? I have no problem. I got lots of time to build up my momentum again. You guys see where I'm going with this analogy, right? Is that because the time frame is so long, it's not unrealistic, right? Could Danny add 30 members to his business in the next 12 months? Absolutely he could. No problem at all. So it's not unrealistic. Is it specific? 30 members, 12 months? Yes, it's specific. Okay? But here comes that third trap. The time frame is built in such a way that it's too long to create momentum and the success loop. Does that make sense to everybody? So Danny's busy heading up. He's solved the first two. He's created a specific, he's not unspecific, it's a specific objective. It's not unrealistic. It's totally doable. But the trouble is the time frame is far too long. So really it is no time frame. I don't know about you guys, but
Michael?
yeah.
There's one word that come to mind, urgency.
Yeah, there's no sense of urgency. Thank you, Danny. Yeah, it doesn't create any sense of urgency. I'm going to write that one down. Thanks, buddy. There's no urgency to what's going on. So you can just be casual about it. And here's the thing. Pardon me, everybody. Frog in my throat. A sense of urgency gives you purpose, right? And who here has been in a room or around somebody who has a sense of purpose? Anybody been around somebody like that before? Aren't they attractive? Like, I'm not saying like, hey, we should go for a drink, but I'm saying they're attracting your energy, aren't they? Because they have a sense of purpose. They're going in a specific direction. And the reason that happens is a human instinct where we want to, and this is deep in the subconscious, this is deep in the lizard brain, as it were. The human brain is constantly analyzing whether we can trust somebody or not. Can I trust them? 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 And one of the clearest delineators of trust for the human mind is purpose, right? Purpose and intention. So if you have a purpose, Danny, if you got that sense of urgency, I've got specific things to get done the next 90 days or 30 days, it gives you this sense of energy and purpose. And people intrinsically, whether they like your purpose or not is a different question. Whether they appreciate what you're doing or not is a different question. But they tend to trust you more because they see where you're going. They see what you want very clearly. Right? You ever have that experience where somebody's super duper charming and then it turns out what they wanted you to do was something you're like, like the used car salesman feeling, right? You're like, oh my God, this person is smarmy. Like they're like, I just don't trust their intention. Right? Because that's the thing. We don't trust where they're going. They're leading us over here, but what they really do is there's a trap door that we're going to fall into over here. Right? Get that feeling, right? They're leading you somewhere, but you can't trust them. It's because their intention doesn't match what they're doing with you. And it breeds a sense of mistrust. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Cool. So trap number 3. And ultimately, this leads into what I kind of call trap 3.5, right? This is kind of a fifth little hidden one, is that we use the word when all the time. Who's done that before, right? Oh, I'll go on vacation when this particular thing happens. Oh, I'll feel successful. This was my thing. I'll feel successful when I've reached this certain point. I'll do this nice thing for my spouse when this happens. I'll reward my team when this happens. And I'll go on a hike when. I'll climb the mountain when. I'll do this objective when. Here's the thing with the word when, everybody. It takes all your power away. Because you're giving up the control of your destiny to some other arbitrary thing. right? A lot of the time when we use the word when, it's not in our control. So we give up that control. And it's very easy to use it. Now you got to be tricky, because you might say, you know, I want to reward myself when I hit that goal. That's different. But not take what I'm really getting at is here is when you use when to not take action. That's when it's dangerous. I will pursue this only when that happens. That's when it gets really tricky. So a no time frame trap is the when statement as well. So now we've done this a few times here. So here's the process. Take a look at those goals that you've set. Okay. We've made them specific. We've made them more realistic. Now the question is, are they have a specific time frame? You have a specific vision as to what you want or what that goal is. Now, is the time frame of that goal specific? So go ahead and take a look at that goal and put a time frame on it. If there isn't one on it, put a time frame on it. And if you look at the goal and the time frame is like, oh, this is going to take me 2 years to do it, the goal right now is too big. That's a dream. That's an aspiration. You got to start breaking that dream and aspiration down into smaller, doable chunks. If you feel, Pamela, that a goal that you're looking at is so big it's going to take 2 years to get it done, that's awesome to have it, right? But that's a dream and an aspiration. What you got to do is dial it backwards, distill it down, and turn it into more doable goals on the route to getting to that aspiration.
Can a goal be out within the year?
Absolutely. Yeah. But even if it's like a year away, Irene, I would break it down into a smaller objective. Right? So if what's the goal you're thinking of right now?
My fitness level of what I want to achieve.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump over to the whiteboard here. Let's help Irene out really quick on the whiteboard. So Irene, what is that goal, if you don't mind sharing?
Okay, I want to achieve a fitness level
Yep.
where I can easily walk or hike 5 to 10 kilometers and have energy to keep up with my grandkids. And I just put this year.
Okay. Well, first off, congratulations, because this goal means something to you. Okay. So it's always, you have to, in Unlock, my book, which is all about goal setting, like really effective goal setting, one of the keys is taking any goal that you have and making sure that you attach it to an emotion. You got to bind it to something that freaking matters to you. Like, you have to do that. If you don't do that, it's going to wash away from you. When challenges show up, you're probably just going to let the goal go because it doesn't mean enough. Right? So Irene, so first off, 5 to 10 kilometers, there's a big, huge difference between there. So what's the goal? Because you can't have two. That's two goals.
Oh, okay. Then I would say,
or I want to be able to walk 10 kilometers. So what's the goal?
Okay. I'll say 5 kilometers within 6 months.
Okay. See, there we go. We already narrowed it down for you.
Right.
So you want to be able to walk 5 kilometers within 6 months. Right?
That's not just a straight hike, because my kids like hiking all over the place.
Okay, so you want to hike. Right? You're a Canadian. You want to hike. There you go. Okay. So hike 5 kilometers within 6 months. Perfect. So like a lot of goals, as we build momentum, we can accomplish more, right, as time goes on. So breaking this goal down, Irene, would be super simple. I would go, okay, I want to be able to walk 1 kilometer, right? Walk 1 kilometer within 45 days. Okay. And then I go, okay, perfect. Once I get there, I want to go 2 kilometers. Right? See how we're breaking down the timelines pretty specifically, everybody? And for Irene here, the thing that I would do, I would actually, okay, within 45 days, which means I want to be able to go 0.5 kilometer, right? Within 30 days. which means I have to be able to walk for 20 minutes straight.
Right.
Right? Within 3 weeks. Sorry about the writing, you guys. It's not the easiest thing to write on these. Right on the screens. But you see how I'm breaking this down, Irene?
Right.
So now
So
I'm
actually starting with 30 minutes a day. My treadmill arrives on Tuesday.
Cool. There you go. So 30 minutes a day. And then you want to go, okay, but so that might be that you need to do 2 15-minute walks, right? So then suddenly like, okay, well now I want to do 2 20-minute walks, right? Whatever that's going to be. But then you start lining it up. Then so when you start to break down this 5 kilometers within 6 months, I would just completely reverse engineer this to give yourself either and then as you get more used to this, you can go, okay, I did this in 3 weeks. Excellent. I did this in 30 days. Excellent. I did this in 45 days. Now I'm going to, this is where I want to be within 90 days. So the timeline's a little bit longer, but now you've developed the habit of accomplishing the goal. So the muscle's stronger. I'm using the term muscle, but that habit is stronger. So you can push it. You can push the envelope. You can go, okay, I can commit to something for 45 days. I just did it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right? So sometimes when we're looking at our goals, everybody, here's the thing, okay? When you're looking at goals and objectives, don't mix aspirations and dreams, which are these loftier objectives, with goal setting. They're two very different things. Goal setting, in my opinion, and the way I've written my book, Unlock, is all about the steps and the strategies you need to accomplish, the skills you need, those things to get to the aspirations and the dreams.
Right.
And so then inside the framework of those aspirations and dreams, you're going, okay, I'm setting a 2-week goal, then a 30-day goal, then this, and they're super specific and realistic. And you develop, remember I was talking about that spiral where you get out of control and you get locked into this sort of pattern of not trusting yourself. Well, the success loop works the opposite way as well. And I was taught this by Dean Graziosi, brilliant man. And Dean taught me the idea of building a success loop that goes the other way. You build a little objective, this little goal, and you get some traction. You get that goal done. You're like, okay, this is great. I'm developing some confidence. This is awesome, right? I've got my 20 minutes in 3 weeks. Perfect. I'm going to push for half a kilometer, right? I got there in 28 days, not 30. That's really cool. Okay, I can push this. I can push. And you start going the other way around. And then you start making realistic, specific, timely promises to yourself. And then you start pounding the momentum, you guys. Then you build power and you build strength. And Danny, then someone says, you know what? You need to be able to add 10 members in the next 30 days. You're like, no bloody problem. Because you've been developing this pattern of success. Does this make sense to everybody?
Yeah. And just so the others on the call understand, I have a knee injury. So I'm tired of saying I have a knee injury. So I'm doing something about it.
Absolutely fabulous, Irene. Let's give Irene a round of applause, everybody.
I'm going to have to step out. This has run a little bit longer than I needed, so I'm going to have to step out on this.
Okay, you bet, Danny. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
All right.
Okay, so let's get to trap number 4, everybody.
Perfect.
So trap number 4. So trap number 4 is the sexy one. This is the sexy trap. This is the one that everybody loves. Everybody loves. This is the excuses trap. We love this one. We love it. This one feels so good to wear because it's not your fault. Right? People say things all the time like, man, the economy is just not right to do this. Right? It's bad timing, right? I love this one. I had bad parents, right? It's my parents' fault. I'm genetically predisposed to this, right? It's the weather. I'm not going to do this thing because of the weather. I'm not going to get out there and jog because it's cold, right? The weather sucks right now. I'm not going to do this, right? These are the ones. Irene?
Hence the treadmill.
Hence the treadmill. There you go. Solution, right? No longer an excuse. Weather doesn't matter. So this is easily the sexiest one of them all. And what I want you to take a look at here, everybody, is, and this is probably the most powerful exercise I'm going to give you today, okay, is I want you to write down as many as you can think of. Just freehand, just power this, as many as you can think of excuses.
Excuses for our own specific goal?
That's right. So you've made a specific goal now. You've made it realistic and you've given it a time frame. Now, what's the BS that you're going to let stand in your way? Okay? And I'm going to use that term. What are the excuses that are going to stop you? So go ahead right now, write down what are the excuses, and don't judge them. Don't come up with how you're going to solve them right now. That's not what this exercise is for. This exercise is to vomit out of your mind and onto a piece of paper here as many excuses as you can come up with that are going to prevent you from getting what you want done. And I'm sure you've got some good ones. There's some really, really good ones out there. And I love it because sometimes our excuses have excuses. Right? They're like little Russian dolls. There's an excuse. Oh, but then there's this excuse inside that excuse. Oh, but then there's this excuse. I'm not going to run because the weather sucks. Well, why does that bother you, Michael? Oh, I'm an asthmatic. So, I mean, to me, I can't run outside when it's cold because I'm an asthmatic, right? That's my problem. Oh, you're an asthmatic? Yeah, my parents gave me that. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I'm an asthmatic because of my parents, right? It's in my genetics. Everything else. Excuse inside excuse inside excuse. We do it so easily, right? We're so good at it because it feels good. It feels good to sit in our nice, comfortable chairs, not push ourselves, not challenge ourselves, and just kind of wallow in our excuses for a little while. They're really comfortable, right? Okay, so by show of hands, does everybody have 4 or 5 good excuses as to why they might not be able to get what they want done? Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to circle the best one. Circle the one that you're like, oh man, this is the one. If I get this out of the way, the big domino, circle that big domino. Just take a look at it and circle that big domino. So now that you've circled that big domino, everybody, as you can imagine, we only have a short amount of time here, right? Danny's still on with us, which is great, but we have a specific amount of time. That's the one, everybody, though. I want to give you this gift. That's the one that if you crush that one, will be the one that can launch you forward. Okay? That is the one that you need to get rid of. That's the one you need to find a solution for. And I'd love to dive into those. I don't have time today, but we only have a short window here. But that's the one, everyone. That's the one that if you could get that out of the way, it gives you momentum, right? If you get rid of this excuse, that challenge, because we're all going to face challenges, aren't we? Every single one of us is going to face challenges along the route to where we want to go. But if you can get rid of that excuse or that challenge, that would be the magical piece that can start really flowing things. So fixate on that one and solve it. Right? Don't fixate on it to make it a big problem. Fixate on it to solve it. Right? Our focus goes, our energy flows where focus goes. So focus on a solution to that challenge, to that excuse. And I promise you in the next 12 months, you're going to have some serious, serious results. All right. So let's take a look here. What we're going to do real quick is just review the 4 traps, everybody. Okay, just by a show of quick thumbs up, everyone. Does everybody get value out of this today? Was that good for you? Was that helpful? Okay, awesome. So let's zoom in here real quick. The 4 traps, okay? First, trap number 1 is that your goal is unspecific. Right, we walked through with this with Danny. He said, do you want to stop procrastinating? What we realized was that's not the actual goal. What he wants is traction. He wants momentum. And in order to get that momentum, he wanted to get the specific objective done, right? So having clarity and specificity on what the actual goal is will help you avoid trap number 1, which is unspecific. Trap number 2, unrealistic. As I said before, this is pretty much my Achilles heel at points in my life, is I'm just unrealistic with my own personal expectations of me, not of others, but of me, of myself. And so you give yourself unrealistic timelines. You give yourself unrealistic expectations as to what you can handle or what you want to get done, or even on other people too, right? Some of us have probably labeled others with some pretty unrealistic expectations on them. And that trouble with that is that it builds mistrust, right? Remember that spiral, everybody. When you set a goal that's just so unrealistic, you scoff at it internally, you're not setting yourself up for success. Trap number 3, no time frames. You don't give yourself a clear enough and short enough window of time to get things done and build momentum for yourself. So as Danny put it, we just basically suffer from no urgency because the time frame's too long, or there is no time frame. We go, someday this will happen, or sometime it'll happen, and we wind up 30 years later that still hasn't happened, right? So I know that lots of people, I know tons of people, in fact, a very good friend of mine talks about when he wants to wind up investing in a company or in this particular venture, and he's like, I'm going to do it someday. I'm going to do it someday. Him and I have been having that conversation for 4 years. Like, when is someday going to happen? Right? It's got to happen sometime. So, and then excuses. The sexiest trap of them all, excuses. Right? You're giving yourself all sorts of reasons as to why something can't happen right now, instead of focusing on how you can make it happen. And the excuses are sexy, right? And they keep a lot of people trapped because they've made decisions as to what's possible, and they stay there in those decisions. So those are the 4 most common goal-setting traps that people run into, all right? And so what I'd love to do right now is just field any quick questions about that process. Does anybody have any questions about those 4 particular traps? Okay.
No,
Cool.
I thought it was very clear. Very clear. It was great
Awesome.
info.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do here, you guys, is I'm just going to put into the chat box a link to my new book. So Unlock breaks down all the effective goal-setting strategies. I walk through what I call the 7 keys to setting great goals and to unlocking your dream life. So I'm just going to put right into the chat box here really quick, everybody, the link to that. So if anybody wants to check it out, because you're on with me today, here's the cool part, is that this particular offer has not launched publicly yet. And so you are the first people to see it. So right now, I normally sell this book for, here we go. Oh, that's to Judy Shearing privately. Hold on, everybody. There we go. So there is the link to the book. The great part is I normally sell this book for $24.99, but because you're here today, it's only $7. $7. It's a fantastic book. I've had a bunch of people read it. They absolutely love it. They get they love what the book's all about. They love the simplicity and the structure of it, and how easy it is to take the 7 keys to setting great goals and start to really implement them, right? If you use this process, everyone, I promise you, you will avoid these 4 traps every single time, right? If you use what I uncover for you in Unlock, the 7 keys, then you are going to undoubtedly be able to avoid, dismantle, or absolutely squash all 4 of these common traps that you run into when you're setting great goals. So it's right there. It's, as I said, it's normally $24.99. But right now I've got it on for, oh, you're very welcome, Suzanne. I've got it on for only $7, so you can pop over there and grab a copy if you like. It's digital, it's an ebook, so you can download it, and it's a really, from what I've been told, everybody, it's a quick and easy, very, very cool read. One of the nicest things that was said about it is it's like sitting down and just getting a few-hour coaching session with me over a cup of coffee. So it's a really easy read. It's wonderful to just work your way through. And so, yeah, if you'd love a copy, please pop over there and grab it. Now, as we are just wrapping things up today, I'd love to hear from you guys. So one of the ways I love to recap these little workshops is to just go, okay, you've now taken a look at this. You've taken a look at this goal that you wanted to accomplish, right? Oh, thank you, Suzanne. So Suzanne just says that there's so much value in this webinar. So thank you so much, Suzanne. Much appreciated. But yeah, so as we wrap things up, I want you to take a look at that goal, everybody. You've got that goal. You've made it, first off, more realistic, right? Or more specific. You've made it realistic. You've given it specific time frames. And you've taken a look at some of the excuses that you could give yourself as to why you might not go after this goal or why you might not get it done. You've picked out the biggest monster amongst them, and you're going to take care of that one, aren't you? You're going to crush that one. So just real quick, everybody, I'd love to hear some shout outs from you. Just real quick, what was a nugget that you got from today? One of my mentors always uses the term, what nugget? So like what little golden thing did you pull from today's workshop? So what was one thing? Remember I talked about at the beginning, just have that one thing that you pull out. So what was one thing that you were able to pull from today's workshop that could really help you? Who'd like to start off?
For me, it was the excuses part, that narrowing down that time frame to be more realistic and then chunking it out. So for me, that was very good.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Irene.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Anybody else?
I found that I was able to sort of bring myself back to a bit more of a focus, and which helped to sort of calm down all the interfering what if and how and the excuses and everything all sort of tends to sort of just fly at me. So
Yeah.
okay, just focus on one thing at a time and that goal.
Absolutely. Perfect, Pam. And that's what you were looking for, that, right? Like you wanted some clarity today and some tools to help you get clarity after today too, right? So that's great. Perfect. Danny, did you want to share something real quick? Is Danny still there? I don't know if Danny's still here. Okay.
I'll go.
Yeah, Judy, perfect.
Yeah, just to get my goals onto paper, because quite often I just have them in my head and of course they never get accomplished. So I'm going to take a separate sheet and do goal 1, 2, 3, 4 and put down the steps and be able to check them off, like you said, and work backwards and get confidence that I can accomplish these things and build up that, achievement or success.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Judy. Suzanne, how about yourself? I don't know if we're able to hear Suzanne or not. She was typing before. She says, excuses for me too, so I can focus on 1 or 2 things at a time and start taking action. Absolutely, Suzanne. Perfect. So I love it, you guys. So thank you so much for being on here with me today. It was an absolute pleasure to be here with you guys today and joining me on this workshop. Everybody got good value out of it, I hope, today and got some value. Perfect. So one of the things that I intend on doing is having monthly workshops like this. That I'm only 40 years on this planet, but I've been able to experience a whole bunch of stuff. And man, I don't want to keep that experience and what I've learned locked up in here and just scarcity of mindset about it all. I want to be able to give as much as I possibly can. Because one of my big goals is to really follow that Jim Rohn saying, which is that, I can have anything that I want in life if I just help enough other people get what they want. And so for me, one of my big goals in 2020 is to help, and here's the thing, I was specific about this. My goal in 2020 is to help 2,000 people make their 2020 as amazing as possible. So that's my goal, right? And I've chunked that and I've buried that down, or buried it down. I've broken that down into what I want to do every 30 days. So ultimately, everybody, that's my big objective. So everybody knows what that is. And I'm going to be doing these workshops, something either similar or just like this one, routinely every month. So if you know anybody else that would get great value out of it, please do encourage them. I'll make sure that the links are working better so that next time it's nice and easy for people to jump on. So thank you so much for watching this, everybody. That wraps up our Hit Your Target workshop for today. And I hope all of you guys have an absolutely fabulous weekend. Much love from me to you guys. All right. Remember, have fun.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Ciao for now.
Michael. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.